mountains of Alaska are big, wild, and rugged. They're incredibly unforgiving. And traveling in this terrain can sometimes be life and sometimes be death. It's always a risk. It's a place that only professionals need to apply. How's that?
I think that's all right.
In all seriousness, these are some vast expanses that we're working with up here. Alaska has a long history of humbling those with wild ambitions. This project has been several years in the making, formed from a winding path that has wrapped the globe, but it can all be traced back to humble roots in the peaks of the Chugach.
Price and I first met in the mountains outside of Valdez, where we really cut our teeth as travelers of the Alaskan backcountry. The learning curve for Thompson Pass is quite steep, but once you get the hang of it, the potential is endless.
As my connection to the mountains grew, I began to look for new ways to interact with the terrain. I found speed flying as a way to ski lines that were otherwise impossible. This introduced me to the world of canopy sports, and things got a little out of hand. Along the way, I'd become infatuated with wingsuit skydiving and made my first wingsuit base jump off the Eiger a few years back. It wasn't hard to realize that this sport needed to be brought to the mountains of Alaska, and suddenly everything became centered around making that goal a reality.
Price called me earlier this summer asking for help scouting some new zones way off the grid. I knew I couldn't say no, as it had the potential to be a truly groundbreaking trip.
I thought that you were sent from heaven.
When we flew in, we brought our pack rafts with the plan of searching for new exits and then rafting back to civilization.
But tonight my sky is falling, and it's a long way down. It's a long way down. Now you can't lie.
We found ourselves really struggling with the sheer ruggedness of the terrain, which is some of the harshest we've ever encountered. And we realized pretty quickly that we were going to need more resources to access the top of these exits, so that Price could achieve his goal of doing the first wingsuit base jump in Alaska.
Way down. It's a long way down.
After Greg and I had left the area, my friend Mike Collins went back in to do some scouting in his Super Cub. A week later, he called me saying that he had found a spot we should go check out.
When I took off, I came around and looked at where I threw that rock and got 7 seconds before it hit, and that is the best spot. It is slightly overhung. It looks pretty good.
Mike and I flew out and landed on top of what we're now calling Collins Landing. I got out with my rangefinder and my inclinometer and started running some calculations. Quickly became apparent that this was jumpable. And I couldn't believe it, but it went.
Take her back to the first grade. Middle class, both pants had to work late. Remember running around the playground chasing the girl of my dreams, but I only got the first base. Go figure, cause now I'm like a young Barry Bonds in this bitch. Second grade started hanging around with misfits. Third grade learned how to use my fistics. My papa told me, boy, you better use your senses. And I was on the right track. Then I hit it right back. They like, Lukey, where your life at? Where your life at? I'm like, mama, gotta fight back. Cause nowadays these rappers ain't fire. Couple more years, we force them to retire. They keep falling, we just keep climbing. Up and
The dream
up and
is
higher, cause ain't no mountain high.
At this point, the first jump was done, the concept was proven, and it was time to really start exploring what could be done with this new resource. I was still missing one big piece of the puzzle, however, and that was an experienced wingman.
Well, this trip started when Price texted me, "You have to call me right now." So I called him. Then he told me about this whole project about coming to Alaska and doing first wingsuit base jumps, and that we were going to do this in a Super Cub and land on the top of the mountain with a plane and all this other nonsense that I thought was just tomfoolery, because I had never even heard of something like that happening. And then I ended up having a break in my schedule, so I'm like, why not? I gotta see if this is real.
I showed up out here on Monday. We had a big weather system come through. We were supposed to meet up Sunday night. It didn't work. It didn't work to leave the Kenai Peninsula. It didn't work to come through Anchorage, getting here. And it really wouldn't have worked to be out here in the rain and the wind.
Well, it's hailing.
Kind of waited a few days out, not really knowing what we were going to get for weather, but then all of a sudden it just goes blue.
We immediately went out, landed on top of the mountains, looked for new spots, found the new spot, this rook up here. I saw it from here and I said, well, that looks like it's got some vertical, so I'll go look at it. And I just went up with a Cub and we circled it with Price. And he's like, oh yeah, man, that looks really good.
Way out in the middle of nowhere, AK. Opening up wingsuit exits.
The Breedens, father and son, and their Cub driving abilities have changed the way that we've accessed these zones.
So the Super Cub we're running is a 1977 PA-18 Piper Super Cub. It's got big tires, extended landing gear, vortex generators, climb prop, you know, the whole gamut of the standard Alaska mods. And what that allows us to do is to take off and land in a very short distance and apply that to find anywhere that's like 200 feet long and be able to put the plane in there.
It affords you the ability to do multiple jumps in a day and scout a whole ton of areas, and you know, just the efficiency of turning around base jumps goes up 1,000%. And it's just way more fun to do that than hike all the way to the top.
You ready? 3, 2, 1.
So today being the last day, we figured we'd go out and send it as big as we could. We found a great location to do something that we've been wanting to do for a long time, launching both speed wings off simultaneously with the Cub and flying down the same line.
One of the really unique and awesome things about this trip was that it was such a multi-sport trip. We brought pack rafts out there, wingsuits, speed wings, super cubs, and to have all those different ingredients come together and use them all was just phenomenal. I specifically remember Price and Matt jumping off this place called Collins Point and landing right next to the pack rafts. And then we literally jumped in the pack rafts and pack rafted down this awesome river down to our camp. And it was one of the highlights of the trip for me, seeing a wingsuit base jump and then pack rafting out. I mean, that doesn't happen every day.
Speed flying laps out back of camp weren't too shabby either.
Is this better than a wingsuit base, Bryce?
This is at least twice as good as any base job. Get it! Get it, Trundy! I'm getting it! Get off my back, Dad!
While it's sad that it's kind of over for the summer, we all know that it's just the beginning.
There's a lot of adventure that can continue to unfold because it's a great land. There's a lot of opportunities to do no-trace adventures in this wilderness, which get all of us really stoked.